I'm Johnny. There's lots of names here that I recognize from my month having been in the job. I've been in the job. I'm the new director of the partnership, and I've been in the job now for, I think, 5 weeks. And Avital asked me to open up this first session of VirtuARTS. Thank you, Avital. And I'm really excited because I'm a great fan of all contemporary and modern art, most contemporary and modern art. I was a graphic designer for a few years, and so I'm really pleased that this is part of the activity of the partnership, of the consortium. Looking at the names, I'm guessing that most people are aware of the partnership, but I'll just say a quick word that the partnership together connects people living in the Western Galilee of Israel to people, to Jewish communities in a consortium of cities and communities in the Midwest and Texas and Budapest. And we try to bring people together with shared interests to do things like this, shared interests, shared professions, to make meaningful engagements between interested people from different areas in our consortium and partnership. And thank you everyone for participating, and thank you Siobhan for joining us as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Johnny. Cici, would you like to say a few words about our program?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I just read because it will be so very short and informative. So my name is Cici Rodan, and I'm the curator of the Treasure in the Wall Museum, an ethnographic museum in Old Akko. Together with Kim Goldberg from Des Moines and Eshti from Budapest, we are the champion of the arts subcommittee in the Western Galilee. Partnerships together, we are dreaming of creating a large global community of artists from a wide range of disciplines who will exchange knowledge, creativity, and ideas, and will take part in a shared workshop, gallery, and lecture. This is the first lecture in our lecture series, which deals with a special connection between art and community. Thank you, Kim Goldberg, and for arranging this first lecture, and looking forward to seeing you all with us in our next session. That's all. I'm very great finally that to see it happen after so much struggle during the Corona period.
Thank you, Cici. Kim?
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Cici, and it's great to see you. I want to thank you, Johnny, and welcome you to the partnership. We're super excited you're here and a part of it, and hope you're here for many years with us. So it's a pleasure to meet you. I want to thank my co-champions, Siobhan, we call him Ishti, it's his nickname, and Cici. You two are such dear friends to me, and I'm so glad that we're finally getting this lecture series off the ground, and it's happening. And thank you to the rest of you for joining us today, because it's a true pleasure to see you all and have you a part of this. We're very excited. I want to thank you, Avital, and I want to thank Hedy for kisses to you for coordinating this. And just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm Kim Goldberg. I've been in Des Moines just a little bit over a year. I'm here at Mainfram Studios, which Siobhan will introduce us to today, but I just have to tell you I'm in my studio. I've been here since March, and I couldn't be more happy I love it here. I feel very blessed to have this space and community to be a part of. I've been a volunteer with Partnership since 2006, so I've been around a long time in many different roles as a volunteer and also as a professional. And I'm an artist and designer, freelance designer for like the last 12 years, and an artist forever. I want to introduce our rock star presenter today. I mean, she's amazing, really. You are a rock star in my eyes. And Siobhan, I think you're just amazing. And I'm so glad to have you as a new friend now. But I want to just tell you a little bit about her. She is the executive director of Mainfram Studios. And Siobhan has over 20 years experience in arts administration, including managing Site Santa Fe, the studio office of MacArthur Fellow Tom Joyce and Mary Goldman Gallery. She has served in committee and board roles for many organizations like the Center of Contemporary Arts in Santa Fe, Santa Monica Museum of Art, the Des Moines Art Center, Des Moines Public Art Foundation, the Los Angeles Times Foundation, and Women, Food, and Agriculture Network. So you've been connected with many amazing organizations. I can't wait to learn more about that when we have time. So she returned to her Iowa farm in 2009 and now oversees what is the largest nonprofit art studio building in the United States. So Mainfram Studios is ensuring artists are never priced out of Des Moines, Iowa. And I have to say that, I mean, I have this amazing space. I'll give you a little tour here. You can see how big it is, how high the ceilings are. You can see my beautiful windows. And I have it for such an amazing price that I'm finally able to afford a studio space. I've been working from my home on my dining room table for quite a while. So to have this space is amazing. And I thank you, Siobhan, for giving us your time on a Sunday. And I think you should just roll with it. Tell us about Mainfram.
Okay. It's such an honor to be part of this discussion and this group. So I thank everybody for being here and also thinking of me to help kick this lecture series off. It's fantastic. And I could go on and on about art and community and artists and community. I'll try to keep it succinct, but just a little background on me. I grew up in a family of artists, and I'm the youngest of 7. We grew up in a farm in Iowa. My mother, I have older parents, and so she grew up, wanting to go to the Chicago Art Institute. She grew up on a reservation in South Dakota. Her father was an immigrant from Holland and was managing the farm on the reservation. So she wanted to go to the Art Institute of Chicago. Her parents were like, nope, you're going to be a teacher, a secretary, a nurse, these are the choices you have. So she ended up coming to Des Moines for art school at Drake teaching school. So she came, I think when she left home when she was 16 and was on her own and came to Drake to get a teaching degree, but she ended up being a art teacher. So she was able to keep that connection with her creativity, and I can't imagine what would have happened if she had Mainfram Studios and the ability to go to art school and really focus on that. She was a dynamo, to say the least. So my dad was also very creative, had a band and drew and all this good stuff as earth science teacher. So I was the youngest of 7, and everybody was very creative. And I thought, well, I'm going to be an artist too. So I went to the University of Iowa with an art degree on my mind. And I had somebody TA, a teacher's assistant, have me draw my shoe in class one day. And I just had this moment of like, what am I doing? I've got to get a business degree. So I just realized how many artists need people looking out for them in their best interest and allowing them to have the creative careers that they are meant to have. So I felt like I really would serve my community better by getting a degree, business degree, but I kept art history and art classes just to keep that connection to the art world and also keep my sanity. So the business community was very different than what I was used to growing up among artists, but it was great. It was a really great experience. Anyway, traveled around a lot, came back to Iowa. We inherited our family farm and I was adamant about not contributing to the dead zone. And besides Des Moines, there wasn't a lot of art going on. I doubted I could have had, I just had my doubts that I could continue my art career in Des Moines. So lo and behold, Justin Mandelbaum comes around and he moved from the East Coast about the same time I moved from the West Coast. So I was living out in Los Angeles at the time. And then he was on the East Coast doing real estate development projects, and one was in Lowell, Massachusetts. He actually bought a large mill in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's on the river, and then their main tenant went bankrupt and moved out. So they didn't know how to fill it. And as all of you might know, artists need space, they're everywhere. And he hosted an open house, and next thing you know, many artists showed up. So he turned it into a studio building, and it's very large as well. But he learned why artists continue to get priced out, and that there's a flaw in the formula of having these privately owned buildings, because they will eventually get sold. They will eventually change hands and get sold for higher and better use, because artists need affordable rent. Even if you're the most established, we want those artists to have the freedom to experiment, to innovate, to collaborate, build new bodies of work, have that flexibility and that freedom that affordability allows. So anyway, they went to get loans to upgrade the building and stuff like that, and they were not friendly because of the low priced rents. And so he understood how landlords get kind of pushed in that direction. You know, they could have restaurants and retail people in there and condos and all that good stuff that brings in higher rent base. He got out of that partnership when he came to Des Moines, and he was really curious about doing something different for his hometown. And he's not an artist himself, but he understands how artists really make communities much richer in so many ways. So he and I kept in touch. He did a big demand study. So he surveyed a lot of people and proved that even in, I think it was 2010, that there were over 400 artists that didn't have space or were working out of their homes or garages. And because the community didn't realize how much talent was here and they needed proof. And he was really thinking big. Our building is 160,000 square feet. You know, this isn't like a 20,000 square feet little nonprofit. I mean, it's huge. It was the largest vacant building on the market at the time. And he shopped around for different possible buildings, landed on this one that's in the heart of the city, and was more modern. There's a brick building across our way that when we first bought the building, people thought they'd go over there looking for us because it's a shabby old brick building. And that's kind of what's usually associated in the US with artist studios. So So one day we were having coffee and I left and I told my husband, I'm like, I think I just had a job interview. And sure enough, he's like, Siobhan, when I buy this building for the nonprofit, so the nonprofit owns it, I really want you to make it happen. So that is what happened. I fell back into the arts again, and probably just bringing all my past experience together in this one project, which was pretty amazing. So we bought the building. I officed out of it vacant for probably 2 years while fundraising happened. And so I'll show you, I'll start showing my screen now so you can see visually, and I'll just talk over it. Of course, now my there it is. My iPhoto has been acting up lately, but so here's the building. It's the big one right in front. And actually, this is after we did the first round of renovations. So you see windows up at the top floor there. Those were not there. So the building was originally built for mainframe computers. So it was telecommunications building. Telecommunications machines don't need windows. So there were no windows, and people would just, you know, it's coming into Des Moines. There's like 40,000, well, pre-COVID, like 25 to 30 and upwards cars that go by this building every day. And literally people never noticed it. I have had people come by that had kids at the daycare next door, and they just never even noticed it. The utility company, who cares? It's all brick. I mean, it's all boarded up and there's no life to it. So I was really excited for the building itself to re-emerge on the landscape, and all the energy, new energy it was going to emit through all these creatives working under one roof. So the way Justin is very business minded, and he was, you know, he gave presentation after presentation about what happens when you bring all these artists under one roof. You know, this is an economic resource that's been hidden and unseen. And he was adamant about the impact it would have on our community for generations to come if we really built proper infrastructure for the individual artists. So this is kind of the inside view of when we were putting those first round of windows in. You can see it's huge, it's curtain wall construction. It used to have raised floors up to about here. I don't know if you can see my thing, but, and then drop ceilings. So when you take the drop ceiling out, the raised floor, you have these 14-foot high ceilings, very industrial working space that's very conducive to creatives. So we had to grind down all this dust you see on the left is the burnishing, the grinding of the concrete. So everything ran under the floors. So all the cables for the machines and all the air conditioning and all that stuff. So we took it back to its concrete shell. It was very state-of-the-art at the time when it was built, but then no updates done since then. So all the electricity was out of date. I mean, we had to do everything over. So just some construction. I should have put in some befores because it's kind of a trip to see. It turned into a call center and just had carpet and just looked like a very typical, you know, shell of a call center office. So here also I wanted to show, this is, you know, studio coming together. The ductwork's in, the lights are in, the windows are in, it's starting to get painted. And then this year, fast forward about 5 years, and this summer we painted the outside of the building. No more beige on beige. Coming downtown, we were marking our territory, making sure people knew that art happened here and in the heart of our city. And people are constantly amazed at the quality of art that we have happening within these walls. So there's the finished product. We're adding some lighting and signage, and it's an evolution. I'm a big fan of putting one foot in front of the other and following your intuition and understanding that the right solution will reveal itself. So this is what I love to get to, is the artists themselves. I'm just gonna, talk about what it's like to be around so many artists. So we have 4 of the 5 floors done. We have 1 more floor to go, but already we have 131 studios. And people share those. So we have about 180 tenants all in all. And that includes the radio station with volunteers. There's catering company that's here. There's arts nonprofits too, because arts nonprofits really have the same issue here as artists. They really get pushed around a lot. Somebody will offer them free rent, but then all of a sudden life changes and they're out on the streets as well 2 years later. So we just want some stability for this area of the community that I say are boots on the ground. They're here in our community every day. They go home to their neighborhoods, and they're from like 17 regional neighborhoods and suburbs from our community. They go back home. They know what's happening in their community. Their work responds to that. And there's such a resource that we overlook. So I wanted to activate them and engage them. And this is Mirza Kudic. He is in, yes, Studio 421. He had a hat made. He was so happy. So he's a Bosnian refugee, came over to the US and then served in Iraq on the behalf of the US. And then about 5 years ago, picked up a camera. His photos are like amazing. They're on Polk County Conservation's website. They're on all our city has adopted, because he makes Des Moines look so good. And Des Moines has an inferiority complex. It's a small Midwest town. It's, never really got a lot of love other than a lot of insurance companies. So I call him glamour shots of Des Moines, and people can't get enough. He's got like 30,000 followers on Facebook, and he's such a sweetheart. He wants to give back to his community. He goes out and does free camera, how to use your camera better, and hundreds of people will show up. So he's a sweetheart, love him, and all the others that come around. Duffy, he is, the newspapers used to have editorial cartoonists. The Des Moines Register laid off theirs, which was Brian Duffy. So now he's nationally syndicated out of Mainfram Studios. Linda Lewis teaches at our art center and displays worldwide at different art fairs. And she's here. She's so prolific. She's amazing. She's so responsive to our times. And even during the Black Lives Matter movement, she has created such moving artwork in a response. And I can't get enough of her work. What I also love is pushing the idea of what an artist is. So this building's really an art studio 3.0, and our artists are, in that realm as well. I want young people to know that they can have a creative career right here in Des Moines. And Adam, this is a self-portrait by Adam Van Wyk. He is a storyboard artist for Warner Brothers. He hasn't been to Hollywood in 17 years, but he makes a very good living working with them. He's worked on like Secret Life of Pets and The Simpsons and all the big names. So it just cracks me up that this is how he draws himself. And he's here, he has a family, but he's dedicated. And when artists are at the top of their career, they're here a lot. And he's one of them. I do tours of the building quite a bit, and it's like clockwork. He'll be at that desk working. He loves it so much. And isn't that a gift to do something you love every day? These, Margot, this is Margot, and her husband used to live in LA. And some people think they have a really great album cover collection, but that's actually all the work they did out in Los Angeles. They created these albums. So Tom Petty's logo was done by her husband. She did Van Halen 1984 album cover with the angel smoking, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Wonder, you know, Bon Jovi. I mean, all the big ones. It's amazing. There's no other woman in the US that's done more album covers than Margot. They're in Des Moines. They love it. They just did this vinyl brew event that brings people that love vinyl albums and these local rock stars together. Tyler works for I don't watch these movies, so I can't remember the name, but it's amazing that I don't. But all the big franchise, like Superman and, oh my gosh.
Is it Marvel? Marvel Comics?
Yes,
No.
thank you.
Is that
See?
it?
Can you believe I can't remember that? Like, he does promotional stuff for them, but he also does his own work too. He does the Blood of Dragons series. So these people are, and this guy, Josh, his whole mission in life is to make people love each other more. And he makes video games to help do that. So he works with the medical industry. He did that Dragon Cancer that really did almost like a gaming narrative for people to connect with one another when they have kids diagnosed with cancer. And it's been featured on CBS Sunday Morning and others. But now he's working on accessibility in gaming, really on the leading edge. So it's wonderful having these great minds here that are really thinking outside the box, even though he is in a VR box right now. He is searching out different worlds to help us connect with one another. We have jewelers, yes. Jen Lawler was in her basement. Talk about being able to have a more professional setting to meet her clients. Her career is well established. I'll say that. She is a rock star. Gretchen came to Des Moines instead of Kansas City to start her sustainable fashion career. She now, because of her studio, she now teaches at DMAC. So it's a local trades college. She teaches sewing lessons out of her studio. She is very ingrained with the community and helped, you know, the mask, when all the masks were needed right at the beginning of the pandemic, she stopped everything to help that movement and really helped a lot of people out. We have photographers. Paige is at the top of her career as well. Ben Shu does a ton of murals around Iowa. He is such a sweetheart too. These people, I want people to know the artists the way I do. I have a front row seat to these personalities and what motivates them. We also host events here. So this is a woman from New York. She has a book out called I Was Their American Dream. It's a graphic novel. And she came and spoke about that piece. And my daughter reads it over and over again. I have a daughter that's 10 years old that just is really into graphic novels and loves hers. So, and our arts nonprofits, this art nonprofit works with artists with disabilities and gives anybody that identifies with a mental illness or a disability of any kind can come access art classes and art supplies for free. They won the Governor's Arts Award for the work they do. And then we're bringing our First Fridays, our themed First Fridays back in a big way. So one thing that I love about our organizations, we open up to the public once a month. We're open all the time, but we really put on these big events every First Friday of the month. And we do, like this one is showing our gaming expo. So Josh, who you saw earlier, brought together all these gamers from across Iowa that include board games, that include like illustrators and computer games. And it's so funny to see the parents bring the kids and the parents connect for the first time over this topic, because parents are able to see really different gaming and the kids are able to connect with the people creating them, talk about job future possibilities, and seeing that this is a real opportunity. And it's happening, and parents, I see them really loving it. So we're doing families a big favor with this one. So I'm glad to say we're going to bring this one back this year. I love it. Jess Quinn, she was an art teacher, and now she does all sorts of things in her studio. She does art. The pandemic allowed her to do art classes, but also art kits. She did YouTube videos with a kit that kids can bring home and do work on themselves. We have a high-end recording studio. All these artists have their own story. I'm gonna flip through, but just to entice you to know more and get to know us more. But Jesse and little Jesse have a glass blowing studio downstairs. We have a letterpress studio where they, among other things, have corporate like group building workshops here. We also have good relationships with the local universities in their MFA programs, and they do installations here and then do reviews with curators from the Art Center. We have fashion shows. DeShera, this was the one 2 years ago. She does wreaths, and she calls it Wreath the Runway, which you'd never guess that wreaths with artificial flowers had a place on the runway. And she's a powerhouse. She connects with a lot of amazing people in the community, and they show up. We host choirs from high schools on our first Friday. We just bring a lot of people to come experience art and have a safe place to have music and dinner and connection and get to know each other. There's my daughter with Jessie doing a glass blowing class when she was so little. Look how little she is, Kim.
Oh my God. She's so sweet.
We've got musicians. We've got the public piano project that all the pianos get decorated here before they're put out in the community over the summer for people to play on. We get DJs coming in to entertain people. This is just a view of a studio. This happens to be my sister's studio. When it first opened, she'll laugh at how clean it is, because that was one of our first openings. But you can see the high ceilings, the light. She put a swing in without my approval. She's, I think, taking advantage of her connections.
I'm putting a swing in too then.
Oh, please do. I highly recommend it. Yes, it's her break. I'm just going to fast forward to a couple new ones. So this was the exhibition that we did with ceramicists. And so this is an example of Linda Lewis's installation, We the People. And she does these small sculptural heads and shows them as a community, and people can buy them and take them off the wall and move them around. And I had to get one of my favorites. They're just so cool. Emily did these birds that she's always wanted to do and had space, and we promoted it. DeShera did her Wreath the Runway again. Look at this crowd. I mean, just hundreds of people showing up. And Miriam from Iowa City did Little Luchadores, big imageries as well of kids that she's met, immigrant kids she's met in Iowa. So that's part of a bigger project that she's doing. But I love the backdrop of it for this fashion show that DeShera put together for the community. So that is what I thought. I put some mural photos in there, more of them, but anyway, I know I ran over. I can talk forever. As you can tell, I just think that every community needs a Mainfram Studios. You know, we really want people, when creating communities and thinking about how to make their community better, is to really add infrastructure for individual artists on their horizon. So we have the Art Center, which is stellar. We have a sculpture park that's stellar. We have an opera that's stellar. Now we have Mainfram Studios that really raises the bar for artists in Des Moines. They really want that bar to be up there. They want to be part of the community. They want to be considered a resource for community members. The collaboration that happens within the building is just astounding. You build it and they will come is definitely true. So going back just to the business model. So we bought the building with funding and a loan to get it started. Fundraising pays for the price of the building and the build out. So it's about a $14 million project. And if you think about it, if that's all paid for by donors, we can charge, you know, around $1 a square foot per month for studios. So like a 200 square foot studio would be $200 basically, or less. And like Kim said, like it makes it so affordable to have studio space. And what happens when you have studio space? You take your career more seriously. The community takes your career more seriously. And it just elevates the whole community, creative community. So we're fundraising to finish the build out of that final floor. We're lucky to have some really great donors that are providing matching funds to get that to happen. But in the end, we'll have probably over about 180 studios. And I have people knocking down our door. It's really hard to have 85 people already, like if wanting space. So we always have a wait list. And I say, like, it's not because of Mainframe per se. I mean, obviously we're creating something great, but every community has this. Every community has talent that's waiting to be recognized and included in, you know, however you want to say, economic development, job creation. We contribute to the community in so many different ways. So with that, I will turn it over to questions.
That was one of the big reasons I wanted you to share the story of Mainframe, Siobhan, was because, you know, we've got an audience of people from all over the States. We've got Hungary, we've got Israel, and certainly there's creative communities in all those communities, and hopefully this is mutually beneficial for them to learn about Mainframe and take it and think about how to replicate it or send you around the world to start Mainframes everywhere.
I would hope that. Now, I do hope that Mainframe has, you know, we've kind of did it to serve as an example. You know, it can be done. Here's a way to do it. You know, we went up to Minneapolis that has amazing studios. We asked the owners, what's going to happen after you know, pass on or tired of it? They didn't know. That meant that it was probably going to change hands. And we just didn't want that. We wanted, you know, there to be a real infrastructure for artists for generations to come. I think that's where it's at. And yes, I'm biased, but I witness this every day, and I stand by it 100%.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing, and it's a sustainable model that can go on, and it's truly powerful. Personally, for me, it's like, in a way, going back to art school, because I have these artist friends around me, and I go stop in their studio and we have nice discussion and dialogue, and I've missed that so much in my life. And even with COVID, you know, we still can connect safely, and I don't know, it's just been a real treat. But what we'd like to do is make this an interactive discussion now, and have people ask questions, and let us know what you're thinking about. And chime in, anyone.
Can I?
Yes, hi Jan.
Hi, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
I'm dying. I want to move to Des Moines. But I can't, I wanted to say that I can't tell you how many of seminars and groups and talks I've attended that have talked about exactly this thing for the past 25 years.
Yeah.
We've got to do this, we've got this, we can do this, we can do this. But thinking about it now, it was always a group of artists.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to the artists talking about this. We know.
Yeah.
Go to the business people, and it's the fundraisers that have to see this.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'll mute.
No, I do think that that's one thing, that big thing that we had in our corner is Justin. I mean, he's a visionary business person, and he was adamant. I mean, I've never met somebody more persistent about getting this to happen. And he knew he needed to convince the donors and the business people. And that's exactly where he started. Yeah, he got the buy-in from the artists and got that survey done. But the rest of his time has been in seats across the desk from the business leaders in town. And he knew they needed the buy-in. They needed to buy in for this to happen. And it's very true. It's especially when you're talking about a real estate piece this large and right downtown, especially when Des Moines has a lot of priorities, you know, in the future, and making sure that they're making space for artists is not necessarily ever one of them, you know? Yep, exactly. And it's like, why not? Let's show them why. I mean, donors come in that haven't visited before, and they are just blown away by the quality. Now, I've been to a lot of studios, and I told Justin, I'm like, I'm not going to direct a studio like some of these that, you know, put artists in crappy old buildings and then forget about them, and then price them out. You know, we're going to have, like you said, Studio 3.0, where we're the foundation, we get the things in place, and construction. I mean, this job has been amazing. You know, all those windows where they're at, that was me deciding where those windows went in, like how to finish the floors and get that going. But it was all in, and making sure that it presented the artists in a way that elevated their reputation with the business community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And just to tell you all a little bit, I don't know Justin myself. I haven't had the pleasure yet to meet Justin Mandelbaum, but from what I understand, his family has been here in Des Moines for many generations. And his brother is on the board of our federation, Jewish Federation here with my husband. So they've been around for a long time and are a well-established family, but obviously he moved away to go sow seeds far from Des Moines, and then came back and really kind of made this huge commitment to make Des Moines better. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he really just wanted to do creative development projects, and he is working on a high-rise downtown that's for profit. Mine, all this has been his basically philanthropic, even though he's probably 35 when he started this, and hasn't made a penny and is suffering from it. Just because his skyrise is experienced some bumps lately that makes me sad. So with the city, they're just trying to interfere with his plans, and he's had really amazing plans. So I'm really crossing my fingers that moves forward. If anybody, and I would say, if anybody deserves to make a lot of money and be happy for the rest of his life, it's Justin Mandelbaum.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a comment and a question, if I may, Kim and Siobhan. Hello, and thank you so much for speaking with us today. My comment will be that I think one thing that really connects maybe the mainframe mentality to Israel is the accessibility of art to children and families.
Mm-hmm.
In Israel, art is everywhere. They paint it on, on sidewalks, and they cover up things that are maybe not as beautiful with art in neighborhoods, and it's just so everywhere and so accessible. And children are welcome in most spaces, right? So the thing about Mainframe that I think is so special, and I'm there almost every first Friday with my daughter, is giving a child access to art and welcoming families and welcoming people. And that's something that Mainframe has really, you know, been instrumental to just our environment and home. And my daughter knows that First Friday when it's coming and where we're going, you know, and she really likes that. So that's very special. And thank you for that, Siobhan, obviously. And then my question would be, what's the artist selection process like? So if you have a wait list of 75, how do you select? And I know that there are also studios that are funded and there's scholarships for studios as well. Despite the fact that it's very cost effective, there's people that are still getting access through scholarships and such, like the Drake Studios and others as well. So
it's pretty, thank you for that question. It's, and I love seeing your family here every first Friday. Thank you for coming. It's awesome. It's complicated. You know, when we opened third floor during the pandemic, and it was full within 30 days because we pre-leased, we kind of like do matchmaking and try to fit the artists with the size of studio that they can afford and want. Medium makes a difference because we don't want all commercial photographers, for instance, and even all the commercial photographers that are here, like no more, but that, you know, we need to balance mediums. If somebody is coming in with a new medium, they may be prioritized a little bit just because there's more opportunity to collaborate and learn off of each other. But really it's kind of matchmaking. When we first opened, right at the beginning, we did prioritize artists that made a living off their art and needed space in order to do that, and they were displaced. But still, we sprinkled in a lot of emerging artists, first-time artists in the mix because we wanted just the most well-rounded that we can get, basically. So now when maybe a studio comes open, it's really just matchmaking. It's trying to find the person that can afford it and is ready to move in. So there's so many things that go into that. And I can't wait for the next floor to be done because then we can, you know, respond to all these people that want space and bring them in too. So it's a matchmaking game for sure. What else? Anything? Please come visit if you want. Your open door policy here. Yeah, Johnny.
I've got a question. So like I said, I'm fairly new, and I'm really a big fan of contemporary art. And others here in this group know it better than me, but I think we're blessed in the area where our partnership is in Israel with having many artists living and working. And we, in our building that some of you know, I mean, I think it's the moment I walked in, I thought it was a great resource. There's like so many empty walls and great light. And I thought it would just be a great place for artists to exhibit. Do you have advice for those of us here? If we were to go to local authorities and to artists, how do we promote our space? What would we say to the local mayor? Things like that, or to local artists. Any advice for like a new?
You want them to invite them in to exhibit?
To exhibit. Your ideas for First Fridays, I think that sounds incredible. We could do things like that.
Yeah, it's a really nice time to, the themes of our First Friday help too, because people can come back every time and experience something new. And like I say, it's not just about the artists within our walls. We are interested in exhibiting people from Iowa City, or maybe people that can't afford space but really want to display their work. I think it's important for an artist career to be able to exhibit and see if it feels what they were expecting. I mean, it's a very important process to evolve a career. And what I love about Mainframe too is that, you know, established artists get told yes quite a bit. And what happens when you say yes to an emerging artist? You know, let's say yes to them more and invite them in, because then they're getting a chance to develop their craft and career as well. I think, you know, ours really happened organically just because we have common walls and artists all around, and they would come up and like, hey, I really have an idea for a show. Can I put it up? And, you know, we say yes. I love part of our formula is being able to say yes as much as possible, just being that nimbleness. I come from a contemporary art background as well in Santa Fe and Los Angeles. And I think I had specific hopes for the aesthetics, you know, and again, making it look as good as possible so that the viewer stops and notices and, you know, has that moment of not just walking by like, hey, this is something. So I think that, you know, just spreading the word, and maybe, you know, sometimes we curate, you know, for First Fridays, we're like, we really want to do like how the ceramics one did. We kind of just help people bring the right people together. So our ceramicist is like, what about doing, you know, our ceramicists here, but also inviting some in because they know the ceramicists. We don't necessarily know the other ones, but so it's a part Mainfram, part community ceramic exhibition that comes together. So maybe just start with what you know, have one, invite people, have music. That always helps, you know, and so that's an idea.
Yeah, Siobhan, I wanted to tell you our partnership is one of 40 something partnerships. So Israel is partnered with different parts of the United States. So the Western Galilee is the only partnership that actually has a P2G building. And our group is lucky to have that space, and it's on Oxy Beach. So it's somewhere that I want to take you sometime. You have to come with me, okay? We'll visit.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Well,
Yeah.
obviously, starting with what you know and what's local, shipping artwork is.
Well, the amazing thing about the Western Galilee, it's filled with creativity and creative people. So it's it's totally a natural fit for them.
It's interesting to think about that, given how it's viewed in the US,
Mhm.
It's really a struggle to have a place.
Yeah, looks like Beverly has a question.
Yeah.
I see your hand up.
Hi, Siobhan.
Hi.
I was wondering if any of the artists offer private lessons or apprenticeships or anything like that.
Yes, they do. I think they'd be really open if you have one in mind and would like to ask. I think a lot of them would be open to it.
I know the calligrapher, she
Yeah.
invites people to come on the first Wednesday, and that's really a nice opportunity.
That is. Yeah, I love that. We're really low staff, by the way. I'm the only full-timer. Just side note. It's with the idea that besides First Friday, the artists really do the program. Like, I want to empower them. People are like, oh, you should have a makerspace. I'm like, I would love to have a makerspace if somebody wants to have it. We're not going to be the artist. We are going to be the facilitator of empowering artists. So if somebody wants to be a recluse in their place and just make art and not talk to anybody, that's fine. If somebody wants to come in and do classes and do summer camps and do demonstrations and do art kits, awesome. We will help promote that and help them with their success as much as possible. But we are really not about being the programming, like we're really feeding off the artist for that programming. So we're not hiring somebody that like, oh, I'm going to come in and decide what's needed. It's like, well, we have a lot of people that know what's needed here. Let's just go to that.
Well, I think we need to start wrapping up, but Siobhan, I want to thank you so much for sharing all the information with us. So grateful. I think Siobhan is going to finish up and tell us about our next sessions, which I hope you both, everybody joins us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was really, really great. I mean, this whole session and your project is so inspiring. I think this is a perfect example of how to make the world better, involving artists and art lovers. And that's our similar mission, to involve art lovers and artists also in this virtual platform. So thank you very much again. And I would like to introduce you shortly the following speaker of our VirtuARTS session, Tamás Don, who is a Hungarian art curator. He is creator of the Modern, which is one of the leading Hungarian contemporary art venues and museums in a countryside town. And his research focuses mainly on young artists and their relation to Hungarian art institutions. Beside this, he is also very interested in social and political issues, how to present by art, especially contemporary art. And he has got a very special project. He has been the curator of this since 2015. The name of this series of the project is Vanishing Points. This Vanishing Points project focuses or researches the Jewish identity and anti-Semitism in Hungary in the 20th century. Just recently closed the fourth of this project. It was an exhibition made by Hungarian contemporary artists, reflecting on the period when the Iron Curtain fell. So it's around 1989 in Hungary. Because after this system changing, anti-Semitism, a new wave came out of anti-Semitism in Hungary as well, and a new generation tried to find their lost Jewish identity. So I think it's a very interesting, maybe not just for people who are interested in Jewish identity, but if you are interested in Hungarian contemporary art, contemporary artists, then I really suggest to join to our next VirtuARTS meeting, where you can meet Tamás, who will explain and introduce this very interesting project with some demonstration of these art pieces as well. If I remember well, this will be in the end of February on 27th. Avita,
Yes,
please.
and I put in the RSVP link.
Okay.
So please register. We're looking forward to see you on February 27th. Thank you so much. Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you, Kim, István, and Sisi. You're amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank
I'm
you.
so lucky to work with you.
Great to see you all today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for organizing this.
My pleasure. Thank you, Siobhan.
Have a good day and have a good evening for Israelis and Hungarians.
Good night. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.